In today's video, we'll be taking a look at a very interesting but potentially life-saving electronic measurement device. What you see here is a gas detector for oxygen concentration. This device is extremely important to have if you're highly concerned about low or high levels of oxygen. Low levels of oxygen can result in many health-related problems or even death, and high levels can cause fires to burn much hotter and faster, also create explosive environments, and become toxic to the human body, especially when the human body is subjected to pressures greater than normal atmospheric pressure. Now, before I get started with this and give you a few demonstrations, as well as open up this unit, first let me explain a little more about oxygen in our environment. At sea level, you can expect the concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere to be right around 20.9%. Could be slightly higher, slightly lower. Nitrogen in the air, right around 78%, and inert gases such as argon, helium, carbon dioxide, water vapor, that amounts to around 1%. Normal atmospheric pressure is right around 14.7 pounds per square inch. Now, how they arrived at that figure, right here is a 1-inch square piece of paper. In the image I'm about to show you, if you took this 1 inch by 1 inch square and you made it a column of air, just a tube that went from sea level all the way up into the atmosphere as high as you can go, that column of air would weigh 14.7 pounds. So as a result of the atmosphere above compressing the air below, all that weight, even though air is very, very light, that you could barely measure it, when you add that many miles of air, that column does have weight, it's compressing the air below. When that air is compressed, it's compressing the oxygen molecules as well, pushing them closer together, and that's why we have 20.9% at sea level. Now, if you're on a mountain or in a plane, what's going to happen? You're going to have less atmosphere above compressing the air below, so the pressure is going to be a lot less. If you happen to be by the Dead Sea, which is the lowest elevation on the planet, it's around 1,000 feet below sea level, you're going to see that the 14.7 psi is now going to be around 15.5. And the reason for that, you have an extra 1,000 feet of atmosphere in that 1 inch by 1 inch column of air. This image here should make it much easier for you to understand exactly what's going on. Point A shows sea level, 14.7 psi, and 30 inches of mercury, and the oxygen concentration is at 20.9%. As you move up the mountain to point B, you can see at 12,000 feet, that concentration is now around 13%. And the reason being, there's a lot less atmosphere compressing the air below. So as a result of that, the oxygen molecules are no longer being compressed close together. Everything is expanding, which means the oxygen molecules are further apart. When you inhale at sea level, under pressure, you're getting more oxygen into your lungs. When you go higher up and you inhale, everything's expanded, and as a result of that expanded air, you're getting far less oxygen into your lungs. And at point C, you can see at 24,000 feet how low the oxygen level is. The air is very, very thin, and you can see the pressure is also much, much lower than at sea level. If you move up to point D, the upper left by the plane, you're going to see how low the pressure is there, as well as the level of oxygen in the atmosphere. Because of that high altitude, to make it very comfortable for passengers inside the plane, what the plane does, the engines force air into the cabin to pressurize the cabin so it's very similar to the pressure we experience at sea level. Once it's pressurized to that level, you're going to have a very similar oxygen level of around 20.9, making it very comfortable. In the event that plane lost pressurization at that altitude and no one knew about it, people would quickly fall asleep, and in a matter of minutes they would be dead. If you were to travel even higher than 33,000 feet, and you were not inside of a pressurized vessel, and you reached around 50 to 60,000 feet, what would start to happen is the liquids inside your body would begin to boil because of how low the outside pressure is. At that altitude, you need to breathe pressurized oxygen as well as have a pressure suit to prevent you from boiling away. To demonstrate, let's take a look using my vacuum chamber. Now, in order to demonstrate this, it's very simple. I'm going to take this vacuum pump. We're going to reduce the atmospheric pressure inside this vacuum chamber to simulate being at a higher altitude. When the pump is turned on with this bowl of water placed inside, the atmospheric pressure is going to become lower and lower, causing the water to boil. Okay. When I turn on the vacuum pump, you're going to observe the needle rotate slowly counterclockwise until it gets to right around minus 30, that's inches of mercury. When it gets just around that minus 30, I'm going to move the camera inside and show you what's happening with the bowl of water. Here we go. All the air is being discharged right over here. I'm now going to move the camera to show you. And you can see the water has begun to boil. And right around minus 30. And this is exactly what would happen to the liquids in your body if you did not have a pressure suit on at altitudes above around 50,000 feet. And now we could have a close look at the meter. At the very top, you have these lines that have clear acrylic in them on the left and the right, and those flash yellow and red when the oxygen concentration level that you set with this meter, when it drops too low or too high, you're going to have a visual indication. You're going to have an indication on the LCD screen saying low or high, and you're also going to have the piezo buzzer sounding. Now with this unit, you can also turn off the buzzer and only have the LEDs flashing. Inside this unit is a small vibrator, and what that does, if you're wearing it on your body, you're going to know that there's a high or low oxygen concentration condition. On the back of the unit, there's this brass threaded insert right here, and you could either connect this in the work area where you're at to monitor the oxygen levels, or you could even screw on a small metallic clip and clip this on your body. So wherever you walk, you're always going to have a reading of the oxygen concentration level. Let's turn it on, push and hold. And it's going to take around 10 seconds for this to warm up. And you can see there's the concentration, 20.9%, O2, oxygen, and there's also a thermistor inside here for measuring temperature, 29.8 Celsius. I could push this button right here, and now it says 85.7 degrees Fahrenheit. This housing is made out of plastic, and it's a universal type of a housing. You can see it has these windows that have been closed up, so this is also used for other sensors as well as other devices, electronic devices. Over here you got the label oxygen meter, target gas is oxygen, zero concentration up to 25%, resolution is 0.1%, and this uses 3 AAA batteries. Now if you want to go into the menu, push this button once, and now it says auto off. You can push this button over here, that's enter, and you can use the up arrow or down arrow to choose on or off. So if I do on, I do that, and I can push that again, and now you can enter how many minutes for auto off. I'm going to leave it at 15, and I'm going to push enter. Now I'm going to push the down arrow, choose alarm, enter, alarm low, enter. That's 19.5. You can adjust any level you want all the way down near 0. Put that back, push enter when you're finished, and you can do the same for alarm high range. Enter. 23.5 is considered high. You can play around with that. When you're done, hit enter. Buzzer, that's the piezo alarm. Hit enter here, and right now you can see it's on, but I could choose off or on. There, when you're finished, enter out. Now a brief look at the operator's manual. And this right here is the important part. Hopefully it's clear for everybody. Hold it right there. The sensor is an electrochemical, and the detection gas, oxygen, temperature measurement, ambient with the thermistor. Display unit is % volume. Over here, 0 to 25%. As I said earlier, the resolution, 0.1%. The temperature is in resolution, 0.1 as well. Accuracy is plus or minus 2% of the full scale reading. And the accuracy of the temperature is plus or minus 1.5 degrees Celsius. Response time is less than 15 seconds. Alarm, sound and light vibration, and it's set from the factory 19.5 for the low alarm and the high at 23.5. 3 AAA batteries. Operating temperature minus 10 Celsius up to 50 degrees Celsius. Operation, humidity 15% to 95% relative humidity. Over here, it shows, let me see where it is. Here. This is the concentrations. 23.5 is a strong explosion hazard. 20.9 is your normal level. 19.5 is considered the minimum, I think even by OSHA. 15 to 19% reduces work efficiency and can lead to problems in the head, lungs, and circulatory system. 10 to 12 is shortness of breath, loss of judgment, purple lips. 8 to 10, loss of intelligence, fainting, unconscious, pale, purple lips, nausea, and vomiting. 6 to 8%. In 8 minutes, it's 100% fatal. 6 minutes, 50% fatal. 4 to 6% within 40 seconds of twitch. I guess that's your muscles spasming. Breath stops and death. Very nice. When I do the test in a minute, rebreathing my own air, I'm going to set it around 9.5%, and I may not even be able to get that low without fainting, so we will see momentarily. Okay, the meter is showing 20.9% oxygen concentration, and inside this bag is dry ice, which is giving off a lot of carbon dioxide, displacing oxygen that is inside the bag. Place this inside. And you can see it dropping way down. Take it back out. And you can see we're climbing back up. The next thing I'm going to do is take this 95% pure oxygen inside this cylinder right here. And I'm going to direct it right at the sensor on the oxygen meter. Prop this up. You can see 20.9, and I'll just give it a little bit over here, and it should shoot right up to 25. And there go. Good sensitivity. I only had this slightly opened when I pushed down. Now I want to do a little experiment. I'm going to place this in a bag, and I'm going to breathe only the air inside the bag, and I'd like to see how long it's going to take me to use up the great majority of the oxygen supply inside that bag. I'm going to use this tube, and I'm going to exhale directly into the sensor. You're going to see that a good portion of this 20.9% concentration has been absorbed by the red blood cells in your body. Here we go. And it's going to rise back up now. And it turns off around 19.5. As usual, I'll be placing a link in the video description area for this product if you're interested in making a purchase after watching this video. I'll also be including a 20% off coupon code. There you go. And as the oxygen comes back, it'll go right back up again. Okay, for this demonstration, I placed the oxygen meter inside this plastic bag, positioned it near the end so it's a little easier to see. Now I turned off the vibration alert and only set the low oxygen level alarm to trigger when it reaches around 9.5%. So it's only going to sound, and you'll hear it sounding, hopefully if I can get that far, when it reaches 9.5%. As soon as the test is complete, when we see how long it takes for the alarm to sound and how long it takes in minutes or possibly seconds, I'm going to take this can, which is 95% pure oxygen, and do a couple of inhalations to get my oxygen levels back to normal. This is an interesting test because you never know, there could be a time that you're in an area where there's a lot of smoke and you want to be able to get out without inhaling a lot of toxic smoke into your body. So you may be able to have a bag handy, which you could put over your mouth and give you a couple of minutes to get out of where you are into an area where the air is very clean to breathe. Now what's going to happen every time we inhale, this bag I kind of puffed up with air from the outside. I did not breathe into it yet. So it should be the 78% nitrogen, roughly 20.9% oxygen, and the other 1% inert gases, helium, argon, a little bit of carbon dioxide, as well as some water vapor. And what you're going to observe is every time when I exhale back into this bag and inhale again from the same source, the nitrogen level, which we will not be monitoring, our body does not really absorb, so that may only drop very slightly from the 78%, but the oxygen level is going to continue to decline every time you exhale into the bag and inhale. And we're also going to see, as the oxygen level drops, more and more carbon dioxide being added to the bag. So at the end of this test, you're going to end up with a bag which has very low oxygen content, and it's going to have a high nitrogen and carbon dioxide level. I'm going to grab this tube right here, stand off camera, only breathing through my mouth. I'm going to inhale and exhale through this tube. I will not be breathing through my nose, and I'm also going to be lifting my legs up and down to simulate that I'm moving around while breathing through this bag. Keep in mind, an increased level of activity would burn off oxygen much quicker. So we're just going to make this test to simulate if you were walking away from an area that was full of smoke. The average person, while they're breathing, maybe exchanges 20 ounces, 24 ounces of air. So if you would put your mouth over here, on a normal breath, you would collapse this all the way down to nothing. But this one's only 16 ounces. So figure a little, maybe 1.5 times this amount would be the average amount. Let me take a peek at the reading. It's hard for you to see. It says 20.9 right in there. down to 10 was the lowest I can get before I started getting very lightheaded and had to inhale from this can. Once I got to that level, it was very, very strange. I had this sensation that everything was getting extremely, extremely quiet, and I was also getting lightheaded, and I was starting to feel a little nauseous. So pretty much my limit once I got around 10. If I would have attempted to reach 9, I more than likely would have passed out. Okay, this is what it looks like on the inside. All surface mount components. Over here's the batteries. That's the brass insert that has the threaded hole, so if you wanted to screw this into something to support it. Right here is a microprocessor, and you can see diode, more diodes over here. It's a whole bunch of resistors, as well as capacitors. Right down here is the thermistor for measuring the temperature, and the board on top is where the sensor is located. That's simply plugged right in. Let me lift this off. Feels like a hard fabric or maybe a plastic. It's hard to tell. Whatever it is, it has to be permeable in order to detect oxygen in the atmosphere. Take a look here. And I believe this is where the vibration comes from when the alarm sounds. Let's take a look at the opposite side. Let me unscrew these 6 screws. Okay, the screws have been removed. Let me lift the board up gently. Let's take a look at the opposite side. There are your buttons. Right here's your switches. That's your piezo siren, LCD screen, and you have your LEDs right here. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please rate it a thumbs up, subscribe, and post links to this video on other websites and blogs. Also be sure to check out my video playlist as well. Thank you very much for watching.